Good morning. Good morning. I am excited to be here with Mr. Stan Richards. Mr. Richards, thank you for your time this morning. I know it's an early morning on your Sunday morning, and so I want to thank Mrs. Richards too for letting me borrow your time this morning. I am Jeneen of Jeneen Cares, where we're caring, achieving, restoring, empowering, and supporting our youth for the future. We had a casual conversation recently, and you talked about all the work that you're doing. And so I just want to know, please describe your background experiences, your hometown that brought you to the legacy leadership that you are empowering others around you to be a part of.
Well, first of all, Jeneen, let me just say thank you for having me this morning, and I really honor you for making a platform like this where we can get a lot of value and the kids can get a lot of value. And for you to ask me to come on and be a guest, I don't take that lightly. I really appreciate that, and I honor that. But a little bit of background about myself. My name again is Stan Richards. I'm the author of the book From the Bus to the Bentley, No More Limits, and that book really talks about me growing up in the hoods of Washington, D.C., coming from very humble beginnings, 7 kids, a 3-bedroom apartment in the projects of D.C. My mother actually raised us, back in the 60s with no father in the home. So that was very challenging for her. And I really honor her for the way, because all of us have grown up and done really well. Now, for me, I was the one that always wanted to take shortcuts. So I actually hated school with a passion because actually, when I went to school, because we were so poor, we didn't eat. All I ate was the free lunch. So I actually graduated from high school reading at best on the 6th grade level. I graduated from Cardozo High School in Washington, D.C. And then went on from there, and I was a bus driver in D.C. for 18 years, driving buses, ate to faint, to make a 6-figure income, to find myself, back in the hood because I was spending more time in the hood than I was with my family. And then in 2005, the light came on where, I needed to do something else. So I embarked on entrepreneurship and was able to do well and retire, me and my wife. And then started our nonprofit, the Richard School Foundation, where we go back and we empower a lot of kids in the youth. A lot of kids in the inner city. And our motto is we learn, we earn, and we return.
I absolutely love everything about that story. And it's funny how God connects you with certain people. Steve Mathis is the person who referred me to you. And Steve, he reps Howard University, but he parties hard, but he works hard, right? And so how unique that he would recommend you, and your story is such a story that would empower so many youth, from the bus to the Bentley. That in itself is like, wow, like for people that dream big. Jeneen Cares encourages people to lead, learn all they can learn, empower others, act with a strategic action plan, and to dream big. And you had to be a dreamer, right, in order to make that happen. But you didn't come from money. And sometimes it says it takes money to make money, right? You came with, a single parent home, similar to me. You came with a person probably who inspired you to be great at whatever you did. You came from DC. Are you with me? Go, go. Love it, love it, love it. I was just at Ben's Chili Bowl with the owner, taking a picture of her. She's coming on soon too. It's just the culture that's there in Washington, D.C. Cardozo. I went to Howard University in the marching band. We had plenty of people that were excited about D.C. and Cardozo, one of those schools. The fact that you went from being a bus driver to then taking a leap of faith and stepping out on faith over fear, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to do it on my own. And look at you now, right? From bus to Bentley.
Yes.
That's amazing. So since the quarantine, March 13th, I'm sure with all that you've experienced, you have to have a heart of empathy. Clearly, you're helping the youth, right? What is it that are, what are some of the things? Give me 3 of the things that have been on your mind since March 13th.
Well, one is to spend more time with my sons. Because a lot of times, what I realized through the quarantine, Jeneen, is that we're always moving and shaking. And now I've been able to spend a lot of quality time with my sons and get into their head to figure out what their goals are, spend more time with my awesome and amazing wife. But the biggest thing that I've gotten from the quarantine, and I'm so excited, especially for African Americans, because I truly believe, Jeneen, with all my heart, that part of this pandemic is a season for us as a people to get up and rise. We need to get excited about that because we've been playing too small for so long. And now we're forced, it's a level playing field. No matter what your background is, everybody has been affected and we're all even keel now. So it's up to you to really rise up to your full God-given potential. And I'm excited about that because I see people, especially in my environment, starting to say, you know what, it's time for me to really go after that dream and go after that business, because this job may not be here for me much longer. It's 46 million people out of work. People are sick. So let me rise. Let me take care of my business. Let me take care of my health, because tomorrow's not promised to me. So, you know, I'm excited. And I think that the quarantine has really brought a lot of awareness and consciousness in this area.
Another great answer. And it wasn't a long answer, but it was a great answer. So thank you for that. 46 million without jobs. Wow. You know, to say that you're going to spend time with your sons, family, you value family. You know, you have wealth, and for you, wealth is quality time with your family, right?
Yeah.
And celebrating your wife. I love to hear that you're celebrating your wife. You know, you've arrived at the place, but you know what? Kudos to my wife as well and all that she's doing. A season to rise. You have on your shirt, no more limits. Absolutely. We're all on an equal playing field, somewhat as a result of being all at home. Nobody can say, I'm going to go unless you're an essential worker, right? We all have to follow the regulations and the policies that are in place. We all have to wear masks when we go out. So we have certain things that everybody has to do, regardless of your race, creed, religion, whatever it is. And so, yes, no more limits. And people are doing things. I am actually working on, I have a meeting this afternoon with Cheyenne McGregor. Thank you, Cheyenne McGregor, for helping me to start my nonprofit. I'm looking for board members to join me. I was on the phone this morning with Dr. Christine Samuels, one of my lifelong friends in education, and we were talking about the types of people that I would welcome to be on the board with me to, again, affirm Jeneen Cares, where we're caring, achieving, restoring, empowering, and supporting our youth for the future. I'm reminded of the messages of Dr. Michelle Obama, who says, it is important for you to tell your story because your story matters and everybody's story. And Stan, your story is amazing. It definitely matters, and it definitely is going to make a difference, I know, in many of the youth that I work with in the different schools. I served as a principal. Now I serve as the achievement specialist for school culture. And what I'm doing is spending a lot of time training district leaders, staff members, mental health therapists, you know, counselors on, you know, SROs, school resource officers, on the importance of being restorative. And restorative means exactly what you're doing, you know, building community, but also acknowledging that when we have conflicts in any community, and what family, what, you know, organization is not without conflict, right? It's all about how we resolve those issues that don't push people away, that allow other perspectives to be heard. I'm thinking right now of something that I see in my county going on. I was watching a Facebook group, and it says, End Racism FCPS. And basically there are some students who have formed an empowerment group, and what they're doing is, you know, challenging our Board of Education to end racism. Well, I say to that yes, everybody wants to end racism. And I don't think there's a person alive, especially in Frederick County Public Schools, I think, that want to see racism continue. And so that plight that they have right now, while I respect it, I think that the way that we need to do business is restoratively. We need to, you know, honor our perspective. So you and I both, we affirm that Black lives matters, and that we need to spend time thinking about Black lives. And I am sponsoring a girls' conference, August the 6th, your wife's birthday, my birthday. We are sponsoring a Jeneen Cares is sponsoring a girls event for 64 young women. These 64, the number 64 comes from Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, which I'm a part of, Alpha Chapter, Venturous Women of Voracious 64, right? So that's my story on Howard's campus in the spring of '96. I pledged alongside of 63 other women, and we became the Venturous, listen to the words, Venturous Women of Voracious 64. So now I'm going to be like Fortitude, and I'm going to give back to 64 lucky young women. And I am going to be strategic. I am going to focus on young Black girls. And I know that may offend some people, but for me, if I look at the data, the ones who are being impacted by Black Lives Matters, maybe their father, they see people being murdered. And so yes, I need to spend a little time like you are spending time with your sons, with some young girls of color, and show them that we're going to give them a night of excellence, elegance, and empowerment. So we're looking for speakers for that event. We're looking for sponsors so that we really can shower them with love. My nonprofit hasn't started. I'm looking to add money to the National Justice Network that is guided by my line sister, Ayanna Jenkins Toney Esquire. To me, she's a big sister and she's a legacy leader. She's gone in her work as far as the Supreme Court level. How many people do you know that are lawyers that's gone to the Supreme Court? That sister, Ayanna Jenkins Toney Esquire, she is going to be the organization, the National Justice Organization. She has a board and everything. Hopefully she'll meet with them and they will get approved for us to donate all funds to them so they continue to advocate for Black Lives Matters. And so that's what we're doing on August 6th. I'm doing community service on my birthday. So the next question that I have for you is, you mentioned a lot of things that were on your mind, your sons, your wife, a season to rise and empowerment. What's the hardest thing for you though? Even in your place, in your leadership role, what's the hardest thing for you? Because there's gotta be something hard for you.
To be honest with you, is to see our community to continue to struggle in the areas of health and in the areas of wealth and in the areas of wisdom. And what I mean by that, Jeneen, when I look at, my story, and I speak a lot all over the country, I had mentors that really empowered me, but I was always open to listen to other people. And I remember my mother telling me that, Stan, you're going to do great things. You're going to get up out of this hood. You're going to do great things. And I was always a good listener. And, there's a saying that, if we know better, we do better. So, it frustrates me sometimes when I have a powerful story, my wife have a powerful story. And when we go back and we really try to empower the people with our story, a lot of times it falls on deaf ears, and then also to get people to understand that we are God's highest creation. And in his word, he said to have dominion over the earth. Okay. So when you think about that, Jeneen, that means that we're here on this earth to live in abundance and not lack. So we all have gifts and we all have talents. So it comes down to us to really start to tap into our gifts and talents that God has given us to go to that next level. And sometimes it's frustrating for me because here's a guy that graduated from high school that couldn't read, that was on drugs in the 80s, healed from addiction by God's grace, drove a bus, and became a entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur. Went back to the same high school that I graduated and was the keynote speaker 2 years, and I was that guy that couldn't read. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And so it's just so frustrating when I'm reaching back to the people and say, listen, just listen to what I'm telling you and you can be successful. So it gets frustrating for me to go back and to try to lift the people up. And then, 80% of the time they're not listening, they're not taking the information.
That's very interesting. I think, I'm thinking about a teacher that I hired, and one of the messages that I remember tuning into in her interview was that You know, and I asked her about relationships and how you build relationships with students. That was her answer, listening. You know, they have a lot to say, and you really need to listen to them. And so health, wellness, and wisdom. You want to tell us a little bit about that business that you're doing?
Well, that's a brand that Sharice and I started 5 years ago. 5 years ago, Jeneen, when I was at the top of my game, um, you know, traveling the country, speaking, living good, and went in for a routine physical and realized I had prostate cancer.
Hmm.
It changed my life. And I always say, Jeneen, that there's only two ways that change occurs: is through constant spaced repetition or an emotional impact.
Hmm.
Those the only way to that's the only way that change occurs, through constant spaced repetition or through an emotional impact. And that was another emotional impact for me that made me stop and look at how I was treating my body and what I was putting into my body, right? Again, growing up in the hood, we didn't have a lot of food and we didn't eat that well. So one of my goals was, okay, when I get up out of here, I'm going to eat all the steaks. I'm going to eat all the fried chicken. I'm going to eat good in the hood. And I did that really well for many, many years. And it came back to haunt me later on in life. So now I speak about taking care of your temple. You know, it don't make sense for you to go out and create a bunch of wealth if you're not healthy enough to spend the money and enjoy the money. So the first priority need to be your health. And I scream that from the top of my lungs, especially African-American males, who stats say that we're at the top of the list when it comes to prostate cancer, right? We need to get a physical every year, you know? So those areas there is you know, very important to me and my wife. And then wealth, you know, you have to have multiple streams of income. You have to have more buckets. A lot of people got caught up with the COVID-19 because they have one stream of income. We need to have 7 streams and one needs to be residual, you know? So we got talents and gifts inside where we can go out and create wealth. And then wisdom, once we create the wealth and the health, we got to be willing to go back and to empower our community first. I'm not mad at these other ethnic groups because, you know, I don't, you know, call it all racism. They just look out for their own people first. And we need to start doing that. It's my responsibility to go back to my old projects and to pour back into those kids over there at Brentwood where I grew up. That's my responsibility. That's not Donald Trump's responsibility. That's Stan Richards. If all of us who came out of that project, who made it and doing well, if we go back, then we can lift the kids up. And here's what I found, Jeneen. All they want to know that, Mr. Stan, is it possible for me to go from the bus to the Bentley? Yes. And they need people like me and you to share our story, because get this, when we share our story, okay, we empower others with our truth. We get power from our story by sharing it, and God gets the glory. How cool is that?
It's cooler than the guy. I'm saying that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. I should be in church. I'm usually in church at 9:30. I took a risk on making this interview a priority because we had already agreed on it, like to honor people's time. And I was like, wait a minute, I should be at church. And I'm going to go back and watch the sermon, but this is like a sermon too. You know, I'm learning a lot from this, and I appreciate your godly messages that you're weaving into this as well, because that is my saving grace and all that I go through, and anything that I deal with. People look at me and they say, man, you're strong. No, to God be the glory, right? To God be the glory. Always in all things acknowledge him. And that is how I still smile through every storm that I weather, right? That is how people will never know when I'm going through things, because till I rise, and to God be the glory. So you've talked about so much. You talked about your responsibility. I love that. And that's why I'm doing Jeneen Cares on August 6th, a girls' conference, a night of elegance, excellence, and empowerment for 64 lucky African-American young women. That conference information will be released today. And we're doing a pre-registration just to make sure that we can get, because like you said, the frustrating part is sometimes I put, opportunities out there and I don't get the students to take advantage of it. And so that is very frustrating, but hopefully I will be able to find 64 young women. I do work in the school district, so I'll promote it there too, but I wanted to go all across the country. If I had my dream, I'd have one from each of our states represented, and some from different countries, Africa, one of them, right? And so I know I have people on my page that I have connections to that I can probably even make that happen. So we're doing pre-registration so that we can be selective about the 64 girls. We're adding an opportunity for them to share about themselves so that we can see that, yeah, we want you, because we're going to charge them to also then give back, right? So this year, after they benefited from a night of elegance, excellence, and empowerment, their charge for the entire year will be to give back and empower somebody else, and then come back next year and help us run the next year's conference. And so I think that God connects people intentionally, and everything is happening in his perfect timing, right? And so I'm excited about this interview and where that will go and who it will touch. I know for me, I have a lot of Howard friends, and they're going to be just smiling ear to ear to see somebody from Washington, D.C. going from bus to Bentley. And so positive energy. You are filling me with so much positive energy. I can feel it through the internet, right? And so how do you remain so positive with so much going on that's negative in the media, in the world today?
Well, I protect my mind every day. And then I have a routine that this is what I do every day, 7 days a week. Number one, I pray. The first thing I do is I pray, because I must get instruction from the Most High to start my day. Now, there's been years that I jump up and run, and guess what? Get my head knocked off, because guess what? We got to commune with the Most High to get instruction on how to go about our day. That's the first thing I do every day. I get it, I got it, okay? It has helped me to live a very successful life. Number two, I exercise every day. I exercise every day, 7 days a week. If it's not walking or running, I'm doing something to take care of my body. Number three, I read. I'm always reading something every day. Jeneen, this is what I tell the kids. Readers are leaders. If you're not willing to read, prepare to fail gracefully. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. I made my sons memorize that when they were like 6 years old, okay? Because here's the truth. We don't read anymore. People don't read anymore, and I have to, I'm just being honest. We need to read. We need to get back to reading, because that's what's going to empower us to bring those dreams to light and to grow us to the next level. So those things I do every day, and it keeps me anchored. It keeps my energy on a high frequency, and now I can go out and attract the things that I desire.
That's awesome. I also start my day with a prayer call at 6 a.m. I get up. And then I do spend some time praying on my own, right? So there's one thing to have some people pray for you. And I thank my mother, who always prays for me, and my prayer circle of friends and family. But I think I love what you say about you praying and getting that awareness and your personal relationship with God. That's exciting. Exercise. I think when you talk about health, that's God. It has to be a priority. And then readers are leaders. I absolutely love it. Obviously, as a former principal, we have literacy as a forefront of all that we do. And in the 2 counties that I've worked in, we've emphasized the importance of literacy in all content areas, especially in Montgomery County, especially in Frederick County. I also worked in Durham public schools. That was earlier in my career. But as a leader, both of the counties that I've worked in have emphasized the importance of literacy. And I love that tag, readers are leaders. As a matter of fact, on my visit to Washington recently, DC, down at the wharf, you're familiar with the wharf, right? I was amazed by this bookstore, and we went in, and the things that I was trying to buy, I had to stop myself. And my son, he's 6 years old, and he spent at least 10 minutes with the bookstore owner, getting her to help him figure out which books And my daughter was sitting in amazement at my 6-year-old son, like, no, not that one. Okay, what about this one? It was amazing. So we have plenty of books, and his father also encourages it in his father's girlfriend also encourages him to read. And I love that. So I love everything you're saying. I love all of your messages. Let's end on advice. You've already shared so much, so many things, so many notes that I have that I'm sure people are watching and hopefully listening to you as well. Share with us, what advice would you give to parents who are parenting? What other advice? Because you've already given so much wonderful advice to parents. What advice would you give to students who are listening today?
To parents or to students or both?
To both.
Okay, to parents, I would say, be a better listener. We got to learn to listen to our kids and connect with them. Because the way that we were parented years ago is totally different now. These kids are with the technology; they're just on a whole nother level, and we're losing them to technology. So it's very, very important that we spend time and we listen to our kids and see what their wants and their needs are. And if you spend time listening, then they will tell you. My two sons are two totally opposite kids, and so I cannot parent them the same way. So I learned to listen to them and find out what their needs are and to meet them where they are and help them to grow, right? To the kids, oh my God, Jeneen, I would say to just dream big, okay? Just dream big and understand again that you're God's highest creation and your DNA is perfect. So start living from the inside out versus the outside in, because the closer you get to your DNA, you'll get to your purpose. And so my sons would tell me, Jeneen, they would say, Dad, I don't know what I want to do. I said, listen, here's what you do. You set small goals. That's all you do. You set small goals. Goals lead to your passion, and your passion will lead you to your purpose. Just start out with a small goal. Think about it, Jeneen. How did we get here today? Small goals, it's nonprofit, lead to your passion, okay? And your passion leads to your purpose. And then once you do that, you start on that path, then all of a sudden, there's a Steve Mathis who knows a Stan Richards, who knows a C.A.R.E.S, who can all add value to the things that you want. Does that make sense?
It makes a whole lot of sense. And I want to thank you for your time today. You're an amazing man. Your wife is an amazing woman. You're an amazing team doing amazing things for your communities that you're working and serving in. And so I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing, all that you're leading, keeping God first. Again, it's Jeneen with Jeneen Cares, where we're caring, achieving, restoring, empowering, and supporting our youth for the future. August the 6th, a community service event on my birthday, on his wife's birthday. I'm celebrating our youth, and I want to honor some legacy leaders in our 64 Black girls. I want to love on you in a night of elegance, excellence, and empowerment. You've heard a lot of wonderful messages this morning. I want you to be safe out there, follow the expectations that we have for this COVID. Black lives do matter, and we're going to continue to send that message loud and clear. I want to give a shout out to my family, my mom, Elizabeth Stewart, my dad, William Stewart. Thank you for your teachings. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. I want to give a shout out to my children. Cherie Johnson, I love you. You're with your dad. Thank you to Dad's family for taking care of you this summer, and probably for the next year as you are transitioning into Virginia. They're near the Virginia area. She's going to Hampton University. Congratulations, Cherie, my love, my mini-me, my class of 2020 graduate. I'm so proud of you. And to Timothy, who's with his dad, thank you to his family and all that they're doing for him, emphasizing togetherness, emphasizing, education. They're enrolling him in a really good school, and I'm so fortunate for that opportunity for him to be able to do that and spend time with his brothers. And so I am a proud parent of 2, and I am a child of God, and I thank God And shout out to all of my family. My brother who lived with me in a single family house, just like you, in Philadelphia. Shout out to the Eagles, Philadelphia. We're exceptionally proud of, you know, the work that you're doing, Mr. Richards, and just thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing. And I hope to have you on again and to talk more about some of your businesses, because you didn't really highlight too much of that. You just really poured out. And again, that's the humbleness that we need to, you really focused on helping others. And so thank you for this time today. God bless you, and have a wonderful Sunday afternoon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Is there anything that you want to share where people can find you, websites or anything like that? I will share that on my Facebook, but if you want to make a reference to that, you have time to as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can be found at stanrichardsonline.com and email at stan@stanrichardsonline.com.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have a good afternoon and a happy Sunday to all.